Hello, everybody. We are Two Blonde Shrinks. I'm Dr. Elizabeth.
And I'm Dr. Irene.
And we started this mental health podcast in the wake of the past couple years. We wanted to bring in truth talk, wellness, and break down mental health stuff for everybody to make it relatable. Today, we are here with a very special guest, Barbara Adler. She is, besides being absolutely stunningly gorgeous and hard to look at because she's so damn pretty, she is the wife of music producer and musician Cisco Adler. And she's a model. So we're going to talk about modeling, which is
a real
so
life
fun.
model.
Yes.
Like a real model.
And yes. And she has a nonprofit, which is called Free the Tataz. It is a charity for people who've gone through breast implant illness. And we hope to talk about all these things today. But Barbara, welcome.
Thank you for having me.
Welcome to Two Blonde Shrinks.
I'm excited to be with the Blonde Shrinks.
We're excited to have you.
Thank you.
Let's bring this back for a second to okay. Well, how you been? We can start.
How
with
you
that.
been? Just how is life?
Oh, it's summer. So I'm happy it's summer. And we've been traveling and just, enjoying not being in school and rushing on the, the morning game, how it is. It's nuts.
Yes, it's a grind out there, especially in Los Angeles.
Yeah, so it's nice to just chill a little bit.
My grind is very different in the morning. I wake up and see my dogs.
Aww.
She's childless.
I see those too in the morning.
I'm living the life.
Two of those too. Living the life.
Okay, so today we're going to talk about something serious, and we wanted to bring you on because your story is very interesting, and it all started for you in Houston, Texas. Shout out to Texas.
Yes.
Love me some Texans. But you are very open about the fact that when you were a child, you were bullied. So where did that all start for you?
So the bullying started in elementary school, I would say around 4th grade. You're starting to, I think, understand your body. You're not so much like a kid anymore. You're kind of growing into your own personality, your characteristics. Things that I never really paid attention to that maybe other people saw in me. I was maybe a little bit shyer on the shy side. Still very innocent compared to like my peers that were in school. So my mom enrolled me into acting when I was 9. So that helped me develop more of a social skill and like working with just like understanding people and not being so shy in my environment. And then I pursued acting for some time, and I started to become successful, and my peers started noticing, the girls especially, and they didn't like it so much, I guess.
Is that when all the haterade started?
It started around 9. I was in 4th grade, and it went into about 8th or 9th grade, and it was physical and verbal abuse, basically. In school, and the teachers and the principals never really did anything about it. They just called it what it was. I was verbally abused at first by my peers, and then it went into the physical, and I was too embarrassed to tell my parents and some of my friends. So that was like a it was a dark time in my life. I didn't know who I was. So my parents finally took a stand 4 years later, and they were trying to develop more of a psychological, like a positive psychological side for me to be out there in the world and not be so frightened from everything. I started doubting myself. And my capabilities and my talents, all those issues started arising. So it started developing like an insecurity in myself. So my mom pushed me into acting to develop confidence and not care what other people think. So
those are such hard years too. When it starts like fourth grade, that's a really formative time.
Yeah.
Peer influence really kicks in, and what other people think of us starts to matter at that point.
Especially a young girl that had parents that were immigrants. So that was another issue. I was called Russian Nazi, which made no sense. I was beat up in the bathroom by gangs of girls. It was just nonstop because of my parents. Basically, we were different. They saw me as being vulnerable and different, so they made fun of me. And then as soon as my career started in acting and modeling, they started seeing the success come in, and then that pushed them more over the edge to be more negative and more verbal and more physical.
Most people can't stand seeing others succeed.
Yeah.
I've said this before, I think, in our previous podcast, where you really know the real people around you when you're succeeding and when you're doing better than them.
Yeah.
And it's sad how you had to go through that, but do you feel at times it broke you down, but then helped you build yourself back up to be stronger and to be more resilient?
Yeah, so from seeing the pattern, I started studying behavior patterns with my bullies. Mm-hmm. I started seeing how they came to school, if they were on edge, if they were not on edge. So I started developing like a characteristic pattern in people. Mm-hmm. So before I would even meet people, I could kind of analyze them. For friends, for friendship, if they wanted to come into my world, I would play these mind games to see if they would ever hurt me or not hurt me.
You're protecting yourself.
I was protecting myself. Yeah.
How did you go to school?
Yeah.
I mean, I think the way it sounds like it was a hostage situation every single day you went during those 4 years, right? You said 4th to 8th?
Yeah, and it went into 9th grade, and then that's when we switched schools because my father saw it was starting to get so physical at school, getting beat up in the bathroom with black eyes and coming home with the hair pulled. I would get off the school bus, they would pour beer on me. It was more embarrassing for myself to even divulge that this was happening to me in school. So I had this spark in me one day that just was like, I'm going to be the best that I can be in this world and show them that I am not going to stand down. I'm not going to take it anymore. I got into karate, kickboxing, boxing. I developed these skills to protect myself for later in life. But also it had a side effect to where I became a little bit of a like workaholic because of my issues that I had, to try to prove something to these people that they can't hurt me or take my success away. So,
yeah. Or more like proof to yourself, but it was probably never enough.
Yeah.
That's why you became a workaholic. Mm-hmm. You didn't know when to stop.
I didn't know when to stop. And I stopped that cycle in my head when I had my son. Mm. So that kind of stopped that kind of like an anxiety cycle for working and becoming successful.
Yeah.
So it calmed down after I had my son. So I'm not sure in your world what that means.
Well, motherhood does that. It is a paradigm shift for every single woman who goes through it, and it will put you, like, it'll knock you on your butt and also ground you at the same time.
Yeah.
So your priorities get straightened out right away. But it's so interesting because growing up, you were bullied. These awful experiences happened. And then you went on to become this super successful model who the world saw in advertisements. You were on the cover of Cosmopolitan magazine. I mean, to you, like, how do you reconcile that? Did it feel like a revenge fantasy against these people, or was it like you just launching yourself out in the world?
It was like this trying to prove who I really am, that I'm capable of becoming successful even with the hurt I had. And it just jolted me to just moving forward, that I'm going to show them that I'm going to make it in this world, even though you hurt me so badly. And I was terrified. And also, I'm still a little bit shy or maybe reserved in a way. But if I really like you and I feel close, I will open up and start ranting and talking nonstop and giving my deepest, darkest secrets. But for the success, I think it had a somewhat of a psychological effect to become the best version that I can of me. Like, I wanted to just be the best that I could. So I would manifest everything I thought of, especially modeling. I said, if I'm going to succeed in modeling, I want to buy an apartment on Fifth Avenue by the time I'm this age, and I actually did it. So I had to prove that to myself. It set the bar high to what can I achieve, and that was due to my insecurity from being bullied.
It's so interesting that adversity a lot of times leads to resilience. And it's so sad that we have to face so much adversity to get to that place of resilience.
Yeah.
To prove ourselves to ourselves, most importantly, but also to others. And as you tell me this story, I think of the movie Romeo and Michelle's high school reunion. Did you go to yours?
No.
Me neither.
You know, you go back there, you show them Barbara Adler.
Did you go?
I did. I just went to my 20-year.
What?
Really?
Yeah. It was fun.
It was?
Yeah.
Aww.
You know, you think 20 years is a long time, but some things change and others don't.
Some people don't change in 20 years. They're still the same people.
Some people don't leave their town.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know?
Barbara, I want to, you know, it's oftentimes people feel like they don't have a choice in their life. Like, you know, we could speak to another person who might have gone through the same things that you went through, and that has a very victim mentality, and that is very broken, and it's very hard for us, even therapists, to get them out of that. So there's like these two extreme routes that we can take. It's either I'm the victim always and forever, or no, I'm not. I'm going to prove you wrong, and I'm going to prove myself wrong and be good enough, you know, like kind of what you did. To all the little, I don't want to say little girls, but to all the teenagers out there, the ones that are like between 12 and 15 years old, which is probably one of the hardest years of a little girl's life, what advice do you have for them? Like, what do you wish that you knew? Or if someone could have given you a piece of advice at that age for you, what would have helped you?
I feel like, honestly, I feel that all these victims, especially myself, if you didn't have the parents that had your back and your friends and your family to turn to, you could become suicidal.
Yeah.
You could become mentally disturbed with anxiety and depression. I think it could actually affect you 20, 30 years from now.
Yeah.
I think it's very important to have parents that are going to listen to you and back you up and be there for you, because that, if it wasn't for my parents, I would have been, I don't think I would have been as successful as what I am right now.
And what about the girls that don't have those parents? Like, what advice would you give them?
You need to go to a counselor, go to therapy. You have to go within yourself and find that spark that's in you, that find that you are going to, you're just going to make it no matter what. Never mind these bullies. They don't mean anything. They're the ones that are hurt. Yeah. They're the ones that are finding victims that are vulnerable because they're missing something in their lives. Maybe their home life is not solid, or they have trouble with their brothers or sisters, and they're bringing that on to others. And they're, you know, victimizing all of the innocent people at school, trying to learn and
hurt people.
Yes,
yeah.
they do.
It's trite but true.
Yeah,
it's true.
It's the saddest thing, but it is very true.
They want to bring you to their level. So I would advise contact your counselor, contact the school, tell your parents right away. I waited way too long to tell my parents. And when I did, then they took action, but I waited way too long.
So speak up is another one.
Speak up, because it's also embarrassing.
It is.
Because you look weak, to your parents in a way. And my parents said, "You're never weak. You have to tell us everything so we can help you." At least I had that.
I think there's a lot of shame in bullying that
It's
happens
shame.
that doesn't get talked about. So, you're talking about a group of people ganging up against one person. That in and of itself is scary and
Yeah.
feels awful. And then there's that shame component of like, why me, right?
Yeah.
And I think a lot of times the kids that get bullied, whether it's conscious or not, there's a part of those kids, they see a vulnerable person. They see an empath. They see a sensitive person. And it seems like the most sensitive souls are the ones a lot of times that get bullied.
Yeah. And they are also the ones that make a change in the world, like you did with the nonprofit that you're a part of. Could you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah. So I started a nonprofit 2 years ago. It's called Free the Tataz, and we help women with breast implant illness. It doesn't necessarily mean that all the implants are toxic. It's to bring awareness to know if you have side effects such as your hair's falling out, you have a lot of fatigue, you're very moody, you're irritable, you've gained weight all of a sudden because it creates inflammation in the body. And these are just things to look out for. If you did have implants, you have to look out for these types of side effects.
It also causes, in some people, and you were educating me on this, mental disorders, anxiety, depression. It can lead to a lot of different brain fog, I think you were saying.
Yes, because it's heavy metals in the body. It's side effects. Everything will affect the brain. Everything goes to the gut and the brain.
So women who are having, let's say, side effects from their breast implants, what do you advise them to do? And how do they get in contact with you and your organization?
So you can find us on Instagram. It's called Free the Tataz. It ends with the Z. Or online, it's freethetataz.org.
Nice.
And what do you advise them to do? Get them explanted?
I would monitor your implants as soon as you get them. You need to monitor them for 1 year. If you're starting to notice anything different within your body, is as much as weight gain. If you gain 5 pounds out of nowhere, you need to get them checked by your doctor or the plastic surgeon that performed the implants.
What led you to kind of do this,
So in my industry, they want you perfect. They want the best. Want you in your best shape and form. And I always saw so many girls very insecure about their breast. They actually asked me to if I wanted to get implants. I refused because I don't want to put anything foreign in my body. So then my friend, she was suffering from BII during lockdown, and she couldn't get out of bed for about a year or so. And she just sparked my brain to start a nonprofit to help women that are in need, because there's 28 million women in the country that have implants. And I would say probably 60% of them have BII.
That's pretty high. That's over half.
Could you let us know for our listeners what BII is?
Breast Implant Illness. BII is when the implants have some sort of rupture, a leak. The body is not accepting the implants, so you're going to have side effects, such as the
ones you listed.
The ones I listed. Yeah.
That's such an amazing thing that you're doing that to help women, because our breasts, I feel like, are such a big part of our femininity, the testicles for the men, the breasts for the women.
It's also comes the confidence thing,
Yeah, absolutely. But we are not really told about all the, side effects that, or psychological side effects, therefore, that could impact us after getting breast implants. So that's an amazing thing that you're doing. And you came from such a hard place in your life, and you were able to get that and really turn it into such an amazing, career. Number one, you're such a kind person too, and 3, you're helping people, and you're helping other women.
Yeah.
Now, women helping women is one of the most beautiful things that we could do.
We have to help each
yeah,
other.
yeah. We tend to really break each other down, especially now on social media. Back in the day, we would go to school, get bullied in school, go home, it was over. Now it's, you get bullied in school, you get bullied on social media, you get bullied, and it's just awful. It's really sad. I feel really bad for the people who bully others.
Right.
And it doesn't even make them feel better about themselves.
How are they later in life? What have you discovered with bullies down the road?
Bullying's fascinating. So bullying is basically what we call in psychology, it's projective identification. So whatever feelings someone's going through, they project it into another person to place those feelings in them, so that it makes them feel better. They don't have to deal with the weight of that. Right. So if I can make somebody else feel bad and I'm feeling bad inside, then I don't feel as bad. I can share that with someone. Now, it's a terrible thing that we see, but if somebody who is having those feelings could go to therapy, process those feelings instead of taking them out on someone else, and do it with a therapist, I think our world would be a better place. Also, like, getting some awareness around that. Yeah. I get people are hurting out there. I get people struggle. Being a teenager is so tough. I mean, we talk about puberty is a hard time in life.
Yeah.
But even those who are teenagers, like, if you're struggling, don't take it out on someone else. Go deal with those feelings.
Yeah, be a better person. Be the person that you wish people are to you, is what I always tell either teenagers or even adults that are bullying. It's just so sad. And I think, though, these days, especially if you're one of those people who are kind of behind the keyboard bully, on Instagram, we have a lot of those. Yeah. It's weird because I don't understand why somebody would do that, because it just makes you look so bad.
They're hiding.
Well, no, that you're hiding behind a keyboard and you're saying all this crap about a person you don't know, but it's actually making you look bad because you're in front of millions of people, just making yourself look
that way.
Yeah.
They're just projecting.
It's so sad.
Mm-hmm. They get a high from it.
It's the same thing of like displacing those feelings, right? They do get a high from it, because if I can put it outside and I feel like shit inside, then it doesn't feel so bad. Right. Versus going to therapy and handling those hard emotions
and looking
a little bit more productively.
What type of person you are. It's really sad.
Look, we all face hard emotions. We all have good days and bad days. Everyone's got stuff, right? But it's how we handle our stuff. And getting a little bit more savvy and self-aware, I think, is the goal. Going on someone's Instagram and writing nasty comments for what gain? If you don't like someone's page, this is my thing. I say, if you don't like someone's page,
they have a lot of time.
What are you? I know. I always question, how much time do you have on your hands to actually go and write that? And then people see it and then
think about it.
Write it.
It's a whole thing.
The best ones are the ones who make burner accounts, because they're so they feel so horrible about themselves that they have to make a burner account to go on and then to say something, and then you go and it's like 3 days ago they made their account. It's petty. But it's very dark. I always say once the metaverse starts to happen, I'm going to create a counseling center in the metaverse where people could just attend therapy. Theraverse.
I like Theraverse.
Ooh, I like that. Yeah.
We could just go in, not even be ourselves, and just go to therapy with our archetypes. So there's something you said, Dr. Elizabeth, which is really interesting. You said it's not what happens, it's how we deal with it. There's that quote, and one of my friends, actually, she moved into her house and she found this little letter in one of the closets, and she opened it. So it's so cute, right? And it said, 90% of life is 10% of life is what happens to us. 90% is how we react to what happens to us.
I think it's a Jung quote. I have it. They'll have it below on my byline. It's not what happens to us, it's how we handle what happens to us.
Well, no, this was just with the numbers too. It was like 10% of life is what happens to us. 90% is how we react to the 10%. You know, so those bullies that you had were 10% of your life, because 90% of your life turned out pretty good. You're healthy, you're beautiful, you have a beautiful, son, you have a nice family, no one's perfect, but you turned all that negativity into such an amazing thing, and you gave back in a positive way, and you continue to give back, which is such an inspirational story. And I hope that you could, I hope you're going to continue to inspire so many little girls who, might be going through the same thing as you are.
And boys. Yeah, we can't leave out boys, because bullying happens
within boys.
Yeah.
I see it.
Kids are just not savvy with expressing their emotions, I feel like, and they don't know how to handle them a lot of times, and then they just exploit them onto other kids. And
it's at home. Everything starts at home. I
It's
feel
true.
that if you don't know your kid and you're wondering, you need to talk to your kid. These parents, some of them are not connected to their children.
They don't know how to be connected because they aren't even connected to themselves. Their parents weren't connected to them. So it takes that one person, and at times, most of the time, it's that therapist that can sit with that kid and help them connect with themselves, which will allow them to see life in a different way. It takes that one person to really plant that seed. And I truly hope that more children are going to therapy and more teenagers are able to look at themselves these days, since therapy is not so much of a taboo anymore. I mean, we live in LA.
I would like to see it more, in all the public schools, if they have more therapy offered. Especially nowadays. We need it.
We definitely need it. Well, thank you, Barbara. You're so pretty, and you made our podcast episode prettier.
Yes.
Thank you.
We appreciate you so much.
Awesome.
And we can't wait to have your beautiful face back again.
Thank you.
We're going to go ahead and plug in your nonprofit.
Okay.
And those of you who want more information on Free the Tataz with a Z, it's going to be on Two Blonde Shrinks. We'll go ahead and tag it in our podcast as well. Thank you, Barbara.
Thank you for having me.